Live.
By the way, I go to the toy department all the time, and I don't have a 2-year-old.
Yeah, well,
I'm just going to look for McFarlane DC figures at this point.
like I said, it's just it's basically an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Really
the
quickly,
only difference is that now I actually have to buy a toy when I go through there. So.
Yep.
Jen, you remember the last communication I sent to you from that dude who was all about the petition and stuff?
Yeah.
Did you ever send me a response to that? Because he keeps bugging me. Like, did she answer anything? Did she answer yet?
Oh yeah, I had to believe it. Okay, here's the whole story. I ended up, believe it or not, I have Rash phone number now. Mm-hmm. And so I talked to him on the phone, and he was like, I didn't really agree to that, and I have to be careful what I say. So he got me in touch with his social media person, and pretty much all she said was, if he has anything else to say, that he wants a response or anything, it has to go through her now. So I didn't know what you wanted to do about that.
Okay, I'll tell him that you have passed it on to him, and it's out of our hands now, because he's
It's
right now he's
we're live right now, so I don't know if you want to say something that I don't know who's listening.
Oh, I didn't know. Okay,
yeah, I clicked live.
I don't think he even knows about this.
Okay, I just want to make sure you weren't saying something about somebody that might watch this later. So,
what are you drinking, Sean? Granny's peach tea?
No, this is Mountain Dew. This is Mountain Dew in an Alabama tea glass. So, alrighty, let's go ahead and get started.
Oh, my notes. I actually took notes for this.
So did I.
I didn't, but it's okay.
Hey, everybody, and welcome to That Super Fan Talk podcast. We're the show that knows that Superman has a Chuck Norris nightlight. My name is Sean Ray, and tonight is going to be a DC heavy show. Before we get into that, let me introduce the rest of our panel. Right next to me, if you're watching on Facebook, right next to me is Jen. How's it going?
Hi, how's everybody doing?
We have from the DC On Screen podcast, we have Dave. How's it going, sir?
Hello, everyone. I'm doing all right. Hope you guys are well, too.
Right below him is Mr. Scott.
How are you doing? Sorry. Hi.
And rounding out the panel is Rick.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
All right. So I know that on our last episode, I promised that this episode was going to be about the Wizard of Oz, but
you're a liar.
Yeah. I figured I'd push that back because a couple of days, about a week or so ago, we had a movie come out that we wanted to discuss, and we're going to get into that in a few minutes. Tonight, we will be discussing Zack Snyder's Justice League, which was written by Zack Snyder, Chris Terrio, and Will Beal, and directed by Zack Snyder. Before we get into that, since Dave is here, I wanted to ask him, what do you think of the new Superman and Lois show?
I like it a lot. I think it's really good. I think it looks really cinematic. You could tell that HBO Max has been throwing money at it, and I think it looks fantastic, and I think it's got a lot of great beats to it. So
I'm enjoying it too. It really seems to be a blend of Arrowverse. There's a lot of Smallville in it. It's got that Smallville. Well, I mean, because it takes place in Smallville, but it's got the feel of that series. It's got that Monster of the Week kind of thing going for it. I mean, we're only 4 episodes in, so.
Not only that, it feels like it's kind of cherry picked the best parts from all the iterations of Superman.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I keep forgetting it exists. Is Superman actually Superman in this?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
As opposed to who?
As opposed to like Smallville or Gotham.
Oh,
this
is the thing on Smallville. It wasn't that Superman was someone else, or Superman wasn't Superman. He wasn't Superman yet. It was Clark Kent. That's who it was about. So they never said it was a Superman show. It was a Smallville
I know,
show.
but that's why I didn't watch it. Because Dave, you probably haven't heard me say this, and it finally dawned on me why WandaVision didn't work for me. and it wasn't anything on purpose. It wasn't saying it was a bad show. It was just, I realized I generally don't like origin stories because they generally bore me. And I really don't care about superheroes when they're not being super. So like, I don't really care if Clark Kent is having angst or if Bruce Wayne is having a rough year. I want to see Superman and Batman, and I don't really give a damn what else they're doing.
Well,
and,
this is Superman.
Yeah, and that's why I'm asking, because like I watched the first episode of Smallville and was like, all right, we're watching Clark get bullied.
Yeah,
for
this is kind of set. I mean,
for 10 years.
I guess it takes place in present day, but it's kind of every iteration of Superman that we've ever seen, where Clark and Lois work at the Daily Planet, and they live in Metropolis. This takes place after all that, so they've got teenage sons now. They've moved back to Smallville. They don't work at the planet anymore. That kind of stuff. So it's the same characters, but it's a completely different setting than we've ever seen them in before. So it's really interesting.
They're definitely taking advantage of the CW Arrowverse post-crisis status.
Absolutely, they are.
They can do pretty much whatever they want. They're just blazing their own trail with this show, and I think it's pretty impressive. And I agree with Dave. HBO Max is clearly throwing some money at it. So now we have found out the money that the Flash is obviously no longer getting. Now we know where it's going.
Well,
this is the Superman that we saw. This is the Superman we saw in Supergirl, right?
Tyler Hoechlin.
Tyler Hoechlin.
Now,
I like him. I think he does a really good job.
It is.
Might we see Kara at some point?
Yeah, we might. We might.
Ostensibly, we could, because as far as we know from the 5-part Crisis story, all the different Earths and parallel realities have merged together into Earth Prime. But having said that, no other Arrowverse characters have popped up on Superman and Lois yet.
Yeah, but they're only 4 episodes in, like you said.
And I have noticed that they're making a concerted effort. It's like Clark is Clark as much as possible. I was watching it last night, the latest episode, and he goes into a burning building and he puts out the fire with his breath as Clark. I'm like, why didn't he become Superman? But then he always becomes Superman in about the last third of the episode. Kind of like in that old Incredible Hulk series where he
totally hulks it.
Yeah, he becomes Hulk in the last 10 minutes of the show or whatever.
Well, one of the nice things I like about Superman, I forget who said this, but it was one of those things where, like, when it was said out loud, it made total sense. Is that all of the other superheroes, the superhero is their alter ego, whereas Clark is the alter ego for Superman.
Yeah.
To be fair, Bruce Wayne is an alter ego as well. Batman is Batman.
But he was Bruce Wayne before he became Batman. He created Batman.
That doesn't matter. That Bruce Wayne is dead, and he is now a disguise.
He's Bruce when he needs to appear in front of a crowd, or he needs to, because he's a billionaire, so he's got to make a lot of public appearances. That's what I've always said about Superman. Really has 3 personas. He's got Clark, where he has to pretend to be a bumbling, clumsy person and everything, and then he's also Superman when he has to take the key to the city or cut a ribbon in front of some mini mall or something like that. And then he's Kal-El. And Kal-El is who he truly is. And that's who his friends know, that's who his family knows and stuff like that.
I am happy to do away with bumbling Clark forever. Like I like Superman the animated series. He never tripped and bumbled and all that. Yeah, just have like intrepid reporter, last son of Krypton. That's all you need.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I haven't seen a whole lot of bumbling in Superman and Lois, which
no, me either.
No.
Yeah, he's just kind of being himself now. He's kind of gone back home and back to his roots and all that kind of stuff. And so Bulent just commented. He says that Bruce is definitely the Playboy character that he plays. Like, yeah. Okay. So the moment you've all been waiting for. Let's talk about Zack Snyder's Justice League.
Hold on a second. I wanted to just throw this out in case you wanted to, Sean, take a minute to discuss this. but has anyone else on this panel seen the trailer for the new Suicide Squad?
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely.
I haven't watched it yet. It keeps popping up, and I keep saying I need to watch that, and I keep telling myself I want to wait and watch it on TV instead of on my phone, and then I forget about it. So I haven't watched it yet.
Let me put it this way: I saw the trailer, and I asked my wife, "Have you seen the trailer for Suicide Squad yet?" No, she came over. I was in my head going, oh, "For fuck's sake! All right, let's watch it." By the end of that trailer, I was excited about this movie.
Me too.
I was excited before. I was excited throughout. Laughed heartily throughout. It looks great to me.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry, I had to make a note of what the timestamp was. Where
I'm sorry, that was one of my earliest ones. I apologize.
No, I was more excited for it by the end of the trailer than I was beforehand. I was already looking forward to it because I figured that James Gunn was going to do a pretty good job. This trailer kind of nailed it. It's looking very entertaining.
Did you guys see that John Ostrander is the guy that's literally putting the bomb inside of Savant's neck?
I did not catch that. That's who it was. That's wonderful.
Yeah.
That's
outstanding. That is.
He basically created the Suicide Squad in a lot of ways.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Like the version of that where they're putting the bombs in the necks and stuff.
I like that Peter Capaldi's in it. I didn't know
absolutely.
that.
Also, before we move on to the Justice League, I've mentioned Stargirl before. I started to mention it a minute ago.
Mm-hmm.
Has anybody? Okay, Dave, I know you've seen it, right?
Absolutely, yeah, I've seen it.
Scott, have you had a chance to go and watch any of it yet?
Not yet. I'm getting it, but I've had too many other things that I need to watch, so I haven't gotten to it.
We've gotten the news that who played the original Flash? Can't.
John Wesley Shipp.
Yep.
Yeah, he's going to be Flash in season 2 of Stargirl, which makes sense because does it take place on Earth too?
It's the new post-crisis Earth 2 that no one on Earth Prime knows about. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, because Stargirl
they've already undone the crisis. There's a secret Earth 2 now.
They undid it in Crisis on Infinite Earths because it ends with that. We see like the montage of different Earths and now Ollie doing the voiceover about the Earth, Infinite Earths. Mm-hmm. And Stargirl was Earth 2.
Yeah, and Stargirl appeared in. She was on Legends of Tomorrow, but this is a younger version of her, and they're bringing it back. All these, they're recreating a lot of the Golden Age heroes. Yeah. So John Wesley Shipp is going to play like the old version of Flash, the one that had the helmet and all that kind of stuff. So
his Jay Garrick persona from previous seasons of the Flash.
As much as I've come to understand that Jeff Johns is not the nicest person, Stargirl is fantastic. It looks cinematic. It is well paced. That first season was phenomenal.
Yeah, it was really good. It was really good. So if you already have HBO Max, go and watch Stargirl season 1 because it's on there and it's pretty good.
I get so many recommendations all the time about, have you watched this? You need to watch this. And I forgot. You guys have been raving about Stargirl for weeks, and I keep forgetting about it. So I've got to watch Clark and Lois, Lois and Clark.
Lois and Clark. Yeah.
Superman and Lois.
Superman. Oh gosh.
Okay. My wife did the same thing the other day and said, "Are we going to watch Lois and Clark?" And I was like, "Well, I mean, we can, but that show's like 30 years old."
It's old and it's cheesy and campy, and Dean Cain is a dick. So no, let's not watch that one. Let's watch Superman and Lois instead.
That didn't change. I was
about to say Dean Cain. Speaking of people who come out as really bad people.
Right. Yeah. Dean Cain and Kevin Sorbo are hanging out together. So.
They can go. They can go make some direct to video.
They can go make a new
church
Walking Tall 4 or something like that.
They're like sitting on a porch knitting MAGA hats,
defending the Second Amendment for Christ.
Right.
Oh gosh.
All right. So I'm sure everybody that's listening knows the history of the Zack Snyder's version of Justice League, but I'll kind of nutshell it right here. Zack Snyder was the original director of Justice League 2017. He ended up leaving the project during post-production because he had some, and if I say anything wrong, you guys stop me and correct me, but
No,
he
Dave
had some personal issues as well as some studio interference, and so he decided to leave the film, and it was given to Joss Whedon, who did a massive overhaul of the film and did a lot of reshoots. And
right.
from what I understand, he only used about 10% of what Snyder shot.
Mm-hmm.
So the result was a movie that at the time I said was not bad, but not nearly as good as I thought it could have been. I guess that was an understatement, because I've watched it a few times since then. It's like, this movie is just not that good.
You know? You sour on it over time.
I was
one of the. Go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to say, if I know, I understand the reason why Warner Brothers picked Whedon, because he'd done Avengers and it had been so successful, and they're like, well, we'll just make it the DC version of Avengers. That was what they were planning on. Mm-hmm. They picked the absolute wrong director to do this, in my opinion, especially with what Zack Snyder had already finished. It was a complete 180 from what he did, and it didn't work, especially with the two movies that were before it and leading up to it, because you can tell, especially with this new cut, there's an overarching story in the midst of everything going on, and Whedon just went he just took it and threw it in the trash, and it ruined the entire aesthetic. I mean, yeah, Snyder's doing this like darker, edgier DC. I don't mind it.
I don't either.
But some people do.
There was a lot of people that didn't like Man of Steel. I really like Man of Steel. I've always wanted a Superman movie that was. I love the Christopher Reeve movies. But then when they went and made Superman Returns, I really hoped that they were going to do a movie that was more based on the comics. And then they went back and they just made a sequel to the Christopher Reeve movies.
Well, not even a sequel. They just redid it.
Yeah.
Well, kind of, sort of, except they added a kid to it.
Yeah.
And basically took the third and fourth movie and went, nope. Which I was totally fine with.
We all do that.
They made the S on Superman's chest stand for stalker. So he's just floating around outside of Lois's house.
That too.
But that's the perfect example of like everybody who keeps harping on Christopher Reeve. I'm like, if you want to see that retread, go watch Superman Returns and understand your folly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's absolutely an homage / love letter to the Donner movies, not the Lester movies, but the Donner movies and the Christopher Reeve Superman. Unfortunately, it is too much of an homage and too much of a love letter that it tries to cover a lot of the same ground that the first two Superman films covered, while not doing it as well as they should have.
Yeah.
I really didn't think that a new modern day reimagined Superman movie was something that I should fall asleep during the first time I watched it. But that's exactly what happened.
Yeah.
And yet, because of Crisis, I would watch a series of movies or television seasons, whatever, with Brandon Routh as that Superman because of his Kingdom Come Superman.
Oh yeah,
eventually, oh my God, Crisis made him great.
Nothing that was wrong with Superman Returns was Brandon Routh's fault.
Exactly.
No.
And when they put him into Crisis to reprise that Superman that he did on film, completely re-energized.
He was great. He was amazing.
I was back on board to see more of him doing that.
Right.
Just don't make it another Bryan Singer film. Just give me a Brandon Routh Superman with good story behind it and some drama.
Mm. And also, a great reminder putting him in that suit that Brandon Routh is a snack, dude.
You forget about that because you see him in
Legends.
No, I was thinking of Arrow. I can't remember what season he appeared in.
He's the same character.
It's the same character.
Season three.
He was introduced in season 3. You see Brandon Routh doing the salmon ladder, and you say, you know what? This is impressive. I'll watch this. And then he becomes the Atom, and he's taking it to crime, and he's driven, and he has a purpose, and he is a rather imposing and an impressive superhero. Then he gets to Legends, and he just turns into a dweeb.
Yeah.
I was not a fan of what happened to his character on Legends.
I have felt that way, but then looking back at Arrow, like I've gone back and watched Ray episodes of Arrow, and he's like over here geeking out with Felicity about Doctor Who, and I'm like, okay, yeah, no, he was always that. It was just they didn't emphasize it as much as they do in Legends.
It was an aspect of him. It wasn't the entirety of his character. By the time he left Legends, he was virtually never in the Atom suit. Of course, then again, most of the Legends are virtually never in their respective hero outfits, if they even have one.
They don't want to cover their faces. Yeah, we pay a lot for these actors.
Oh no, it's totally because those suits are expensive, and Legends does not have that budget.
But Brandon Routh is a. Go ahead.
Wasn't Superman Returns the one where they had to digitally reduce his
package
endowments?
Yes. Which is better than what happened on the 1966 Batman series, where they literally gave Burt Ward pills that they thought would, and he took them.
That I think that's kind of been debunked. I think that was a story that Burt Ward just told to.
Was it debunked?
Yeah, I think he was just telling that story to see how far it would go.
Sean, that's the kind of story I don't want debunked. I want to believe that.
But Brandon Routh training, they put saltpeter in our drinking water.
While we're talking about Brandon Routh, he's a really good actor. He's on The Rookie this season, playing this racist asshole cop. And as far as racist asshole cops go, he's doing a good job.
Is that what that I saw? I saw a clip of him being that way on Facebook, but it didn't identify what show or movie it was from. So I didn't know.
It's The Rookie. The Rookie. Yeah.
Okay.
I forgot that show was still on.
Yeah.
Scott, look at the private chat.
No, sorry, it's covered up with my notes.
And I'm just pausing.
And not kill the conversation.
I'm pausing and reading it too. when you say stop and look at the chat, everybody wants to look at the chat. Okay, so all right. So the rumors abounded that Snyder had kept all of the footage that he had shot, and he had it on his laptop. And then the hashtag release the Snyder Cut was born. And a few years later, we have a global pandemic. Warner Brothers needs to put something out, so
suddenly it's the cats with buttholes.
So yeah, they gave Snyder some money. He didn't take any more pay for himself, but they did because he'd already been paid to direct the movie. But they gave him some extra money to put into some visual effects, and he did go and shoot about 5 minutes more footage. And
they told him he could not shoot anymore, and he was like, "Screw it." And he brought people over into his backyard, literally his backyard, and shot.
Yeah, what I understand is that so the only thing that he shot was that nightmare scene at the end.
Yeah.
And
he obviously couldn't get everybody.
Yeah, from what I understand, Ben Affleck and Jared Leto were the only ones that were physically there. Mm-hmm. Everybody else they shot either remotely and just put the footage together, or it was some composite shots or something like that. But
Ezra Miller, I will bet you cash money on the table that Ezra Miller was a completely CG Flash.
Yeah, he didn't say anything.
No.
So,
not only did he not say anything, but when he opened up the mask or his helmet and you can see his face, that was a computer generated face. That Flash was entirely artificial.
Ezra Miller, they did shoot with Ezra Miller, but he was on the set of Fantastic Beasts.
Facial hair and stuff like that.
And he was on the set of Fantastic Beasts, and Zach actually had to direct him over like Skype or something.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
so
Zack Snyder said that I've always wanted to do a scene with Batman and the Joker. This may be the only chance I ever get to do it. So screw it, I'm going to do it. Yeah. So
as long as we're talking about this scene, I was going to wait till we get to the end, but as long as we're here, and Dave, you may be able to answer this. When I heard that Leto's Joker was in this movie, that was one of the reasons why I was so reticent to watch it. By the way, I loved it. Just get that out of the way right now. Sean was like, all right, if you don't like this, we're not going to go on and on about how much you don't like it. I'm like, no, it's all right. I'm thinking it. But that Joker was one I would watch a lot more of. Why was it so different from what they did in Suicide Squad?
Because bad writing in Suicide Squad. That was most of it. I'll admit, I've actually met Leto in person. He's a weird ass dude. I'll tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But he's an amazing actor. I love everything he's done, including Suicide Squad. Even that was just bad writing. That was not his fault. And like a bunch of his stuff was on the cutting room floor, unfortunately. So a lot of the good scenes, I suspect, were not even put in the film. So I mean, it's not his fault.
Yeah,
release the Leto cut.
The unfortunate thing about Suicide Squad is we can't even really say that it's been bad writing because we haven't seen it. We haven't seen Suicide Squad. We saw whatever the hell they put out, but that was like
we saw a music video. Yeah,
we saw what the trailer company put together.
Yes,
right. That's a good point.
Not only that, it was an amalgamation of what Ayer wrote and stuff that Jeff Johns came in and changed. Like when he wrote in that part that Harley was an accessory to the murder of Robin. But then in the theatrical cut, we see that, Leto's already got his teeth knocked out and he's got the metal teeth. He was supposed to have lost his teeth because Batman knocked his teeth in.
Yeah.
Right.
So, like, how could he have those when he's meeting Harley if she was an accessory to the murder of Robin? Like, Jeff Johns broke the timeline. He completely screwed that movie up, and then on top of it, they had the trailer company come in and edit it. Who knows what's actually out there that Ayer has?
Yeah.
So it might be horrible. I haven't seen an Ayer movie that he had control of that I disliked, but who knows?
Yeah.
But so much of what was in the Suicide Squad that got cut out was a lot of the codependency and the abusiveness of Harley and Joker's relationship, because teenage girls #relationship goals. They love Joker and Harley. Can't have that's not abusive. Go back and watch Batman the animated series. He's beating the crap out of Harley.
He's awful to her. I mean, even in the comics, he's awful to her. But I mean, yeah, going back to the scene from the new film, it was great. It was absolutely wonderful. And I was like, I was the same way. I was like, can we have more of this? Because Leto was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I thought that what Leto did in Suicide Squad was kind of interesting. I wasn't as turned off by it as a lot of other people were, but it was just so completely different. But every time we see the Joker in a movie, it's completely different because everybody that plays him wants to put their spin on it.
I'm fine with different. I loved Ledger. I know that it kind of became vogue to bash on Heath Ledger's Joker, but I loved what he did with that character.
Oh no, yeah, that was great.
I've never bashed on it. I thought it was great. I mean, sometimes it can be just viscerally annoying when, as you're watching The Dark Knight, and you just, no matter how much you want to stop, you can't stop noticing every time he.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is just because the prosthetics were coming off.
Yeah. It was actually
acting was.
It was ad-libbed. He wasn't doing it for Yeah.
He's licking his chops throughout that entire movie, and it's good characterization. But once you see it once, and that's all you're going to see for the rest of the movie.
So anyway, this version of the Justice League, in my opinion, this is my opinion, is so much better than what we got in 2017. Yes, it is 4 hours long. Now, I think that if Snyder had stayed on the project and he had gone all the way to the end and it had been his movie, I don't think it would have been 4 hours long. I think he probably would have cut another hour out of this to make it theatrical.
Needed that.
And it would have been crapped on, and then he would have eventually released this on the Blu-ray.
But we live in a time.
The reason this is 4 hours is because it's not a movie he was making for theatrical release. This was a project film and not a theater film. So he could do with it what he wanted. I was surprised when the whole thing was released rather than coming out in 4 installments, which is what I thought they were going to do. I had heard they were going to do that, but
yeah,
I'll take it all at once.
Well, the legalities got in the way of that. It would cost way too much money to, like, contractually speaking, a miniseries, you have to pay actors per episode. It gets into a whole thing. So yeah, they're not going to throw any more money at that. Plus, you know, since HBO Max and Warner Brothers came to the decision to release all their movies same day, the schedule changed drastically. And they were going to have a lot more opportunities to get, you know, activations instead of having to like draw out weeks, you know, over 2 months or whatever it would be. For Zack Snyder's Justice League, they're like, you know what, we're going to have, you know, whatever it is, Godzilla versus Kong or what have you, pop in there instead. So let's just release it all at once. And then they just released a week later, which I thought they would. Well, after the Ann Sarnoff comments, I didn't think so, but they just kind of just slipped that black and white version in like a week later. It was like, by the way, that's on here now.
Yeah, has anybody watched any of the Justice is Gray version?
I've seen a part of it.
Yeah, I watched about half of it yesterday, and it was so. Rick, you said why?
when they did this with Mad Max Fury Road, I'm like, why?
Yeah,
actually, it's not too bad.
But if you want to watch it with no color, turn the color down in your TV. Why no, a whole separate issue?
Rick, it's different. It's a different experience. I'm telling you, because he completely remastered it in black and white. It's not just desaturated.
Yeah.
But, you know, the reason he did it is because he lived with it for some 2 or 3 years while editing it in black and white. He fell in love with it. And then he was also showing the fans over on Vero still images in black and white. And that's how we came to love it. And he wanted to release it in black and white, just sort of as a, you know, an extra little bonus. One of the great things about it is a lot of the contrast pops more. And it also kind of hides some of the dodgy CGI at a couple of places in the movie.
That's what I was going to say. Yeah. Some of the CGI looks better in black and white, and the only thing is, some of the stuff does not work in black and white because, like in that first flashback battle that we see between the Atlanteans and Darkseid and the Amazons and everybody, you know, that when that Green Lantern comes up, you don't immediately know that he's a Green Lantern because he's not green. It's black and white until you see him close up and you see the symbol on his chest. And then, which I only watched about half of it, but I imagine that Superman putting on his black suit does not mean as much because it doesn't look that much different than his regular suit when it's in black and white. But other than that,
that battle would have been one of those moments that you can cheat a little bit. Just let the Green Lantern be the only thing in color on the screen.
Yeah. Or just his ring, you know, that might have been cool.
Yeah, but you know, when you get to the nuclear facility and Steppenwolf is putting the mother boxes into that slab of whatever it was in the middle, give the mother boxes their individual, you know, yellow, blue, and red colors, and let that be the only color on the screen. Just those little touches of color. Go Schindler's List with it and let the colors pop in very specific moments.
Well, like WandaVision when she finds the helicopter and all that. Yeah.
That was so Pleasantville. It was awesome.
Yeah.
And, you know, the thing about Justice's Gray edition is, you know, because it's not just completely desaturated, there are times where the textures pop so much you could swear you do see hues of color that, you know, it's a really interesting experience. And it's, you know, the reason why, because Zach wanted to do it and we wanted to see it. And as added content for HBO Max.
Yeah.
And, you know, as long as he's doing it for free, oh, hell yeah, put it on.
True.
Yeah.
Well, what was funny was that he said last week that he might release the black and white version, and then he just released it, and nobody didn't really say anything. It just appeared.
Yeah, I don't think that was his choice.
Yeah. All right, so we talked about the fact that it's 4 hours. Also, there's so much. I made some notes of things that are different. Number one difference.
Everything.
Yeah, the Russian family is gone. That's the biggest thing.
Okay. Number one, the CGI mustache lip thing completely gone.
The whole opening was different, and it was so much better.
Yes.
because I mean, if you don't know, which I know everybody on the panel knows, Henry Cavill had gone on to do Mission Impossible, and he had to grow a mustache for that part. And when he went back to do reshoots, they would not let him shave his mustache because they weren't finished with their movie yet. And so they just shot the scenes. They shot all of his reshoots as Superman with a mustache and went in and digitally erased it, and it did not work. His lip looked completely inhuman. He looked like a turtle, you know.
That will for quite some time be an infamous CG oops.
Yeah,
was their attempt to remove that mustache,
and it might have worked if it was all like distance shots and stuff. But the very beginning of the movie was just like him standing there talking to the camera close up with his lip looking all weird.
And to me, the saddest part about that story is that, you know, every VFX artist who has given an interview has said that would have been fixed if they had pushed back the release window just a little bit. But Toby Emmerich and who was it? Toby Emmerich and Sujihara were so afraid of the AT&T Warner merger and afraid of losing their jobs, they wanted to hurry up and be able to get their bonuses if the movie was popular. And that was it.
Yeah. Spoiler alert, it wasn't.
Yeah. And if they had shaved the mustache, it's easier to CGI a mustache onto somebody than it is to CGI one off of somebody. So.
Yeah, but Mission Impossible did not want to have that.
No, they didn't want to. They didn't want to deal with it. Yeah, I know.
Well, Warner Brothers even like offered to pay Paramount for their CGI of his mustache back, and they were like, "No, I don't think so."
Yeah,
not our problem.
And they're right. It wasn't their problem. So.
Sorry, Warner Brothers. The Church of Scientology says we get the mustache.
One of the biggest changes to the movie, probably the biggest change to the movie, was the character of Cyborg, because in the original version, I felt like he was kind of shoehorned into the movie. It was a complaint that I made at the time that I felt like Warner Brothers was trying to do what Marvel was doing without doing all the preliminary work. Like they wanted to make Avengers, but Marvel had made Avengers after they made all these individual movies. Warner Brothers wanted to make the Avengers without doing all that. They just wanted to shoehorn the Flash and Cyborg into this movie. But that's obviously not what happened, because Cyborg is pretty much the main character of this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it felt like a Cyborg movie most of the time. And I'm disappointed with myself, because I intended to start this podcast by saying I'm glad we're here to discuss Cyborg the movie, but I forgot to say it.
Well, this also was, one of the reasons why. Okay, I don't know if you guys want to go down this rabbit hole or not. I don't know that we can, especially at this point in the discussion, not at least touch on the fact that within the past. Well, since Justice League came out, and especially in the last few months, the veneer of nice guy has fallen away from Joss Whedon, and we're finding out what an absolute douchebag the man is.
Yeah.
And Cyborg being almost completely removed from the original cut seems to be a big part of that, because I forget the actor's name that played Cyborg.
Ray
Fisher.
He came out and said that Whedon was an absolute douche to him during the whole.
I believe it.
Filming, and I can't remember. I should have looked these up before we started, but it sounded like he was trying to find if there was any legal action he could take against Whedon because of the way he was treated. And then we've got Charisma Carpenter came out about a month and a half ago as we're recording this, and and finally stopped hinting and tap dancing around it and said, yeah, he treated her like absolute garbage on Buffy, and even worse on Angel, and then basically fired her when she got pregnant.
I heard he tried to bully her into having an abortion or something like that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the Buffy cast members none of them actually came right out and said, yeah, he treated me like crap too. But like Sarah Michelle Gellar said something along the lines of, I've always been, I'm proud to be attached to Buffy, and I'm proud to have played her, but I'm glad I'm not doing it anymore, or something like that. She,
I don't want my name attached to Whedon.
Right. I don't want my name forever attached to Whedon. And also she definitely leaned into I stand with and I support my friends. So without saying, yes, he did this, she was saying, this lady over here who's saying that he did this, you should listen to her.
Well, and also the actress that played her little sister, right?
Yes.
I don't know her name.
Michelle Trachtenberg.
Yeah, they said that she was basically, they made sure that she wasn't alone in a room with him.
Yeah.
You know.
Ooh. Didn't hear that.
Now,
wow.
And going back to Justice League, Gal Gadot refused to be in the same room with him.
Oh,
I don't blame her. I don't blame her.
Well, like in the theatrical cut, when you see Wonder Woman wearing that scarf, it's because that's her stand-in, and they shot Gal separately and superimposed her head on top of that.
Oh,
stand-in.
Wow.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah. Wow. Okay. Well, another. But anyway, talking about Cyborg's character, the new stuff with him. The original version of Justice League, I didn't really care for Cyborg, but now, I mean, he was great in this movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he was like a pouty brat in the original cut, and now his angst makes sense.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And his powers are almost godlike. I mean,
yeah,
he can just wave his hand and he can launch every nuclear missile in the world.
Yeah, suddenly you're going, oh, this is why he's a part of the Justice League.
Yeah.
There were moments in this film where I found myself thinking, all right, it's enough with the grumpiness there, Vic. Maybe lighten up just a touch. And it's not like it doesn't make sense for his character to be grumpy. But this was 4 hours of grumpy. There was a lot of grumpy.
Well, yeah, but Scott, I was grumpy for 2 months when I cut off my fingertips.
Oh,
this guy has like a head, and that's it.
Yeah. I kind of.
I'm still trying to figure out what the Mother Box did with his, his neck, his chest, his remaining arm. You couldn't hold on to that stuff. Come on, RoboCop kept an arm.
Well, it depends on how much, I mean, it's all fiction, so they could have done anything, but why?
Yeah, I kind of thought about this because he's really the only one of them that can't have any normalcy to his life. All the rest of them can pretend to be regular people when they're not being superheroes.
They just put on glasses.
Yeah, he can't. I mean, yeah, basically. So, I mean, he can't. He's like, the Ninja Turtles, they all they can do is put on a trench coat and go out at night. That's about it.
But it works.
And apparently that's enough. Or if you watch the cartoon, they also have human masks that they put on.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did.
Now, I will, as far as Cyborg goes, I like the character a lot better in the Snyder cut. It adds more to him. He has more to do. He's more substantial. And while, yes, I complained that he was a little bit grumpy, it's not the biggest deal in the world. He plays the role well, and aside from being a walking advertisement for Under Armour, he does a great job. But when you see Cyborg without any of the, without the hoodie or without the jeans on, and it's just, him in full on cyborg mode. I don't know if people would consider this a hot take or not, but I think I like the visual of the Doom Patrol cyborg better.
That's a pretty hot take, buddy.
It's New York. Someone here just said it's New York. No one's looking at that hard at the past the trench coat. Yeah.
Facebook user.
Oh my gosh. Look, there was a real life thing where Henry Cavill was walking around in Times Square with the Batman v Superman poster of him like gigantic, larger than life, as big as a tall skyscraper, and he's walking around with just like he's got a Superman t-shirt on. No one cares. No one recognizes him.
No, it was weird.
I'm like, you completely vindicated 80 years of a comic book for me.
Mm-hmm. Have any of you ever been to Times Square?
No.
Nobody makes eye contact in Times Square.
Well, the last time I was in New York, unfortunately, we couldn't get tickets to it, but Patrick Stewart was doing a show like right around the corner from the hotel. I was chaperoning a bunch of college kids. And one day while we were standing in front of our hotel waiting for the bus to pick us up to take us to whatever we were going to do, Marina Sirtis walked by us. but I didn't realize it until she was 150 yards away from me, and I went, "Holy shit, that was Marina Sirtis!" But by then it was like, you're not going to go run her down or anything like that.
Wow.
Hey, I know you, Counselor Joy. Hey,
because what happens is, they walk by and you see the face, and it doesn't register right away because they're familiar, and you're not expecting to see someone familiar in that where you're at.
Yeah,
and then it finally clicks, and you go, "God damn!"
And they're already gone.
I had a teacher that he was the head football coach at the high school, and he saw a guy at one of the games, and he knew they recognized him. I'm sorry, I hear myself echoing out of somebody's speakers, but he knew he recognized him from somewhere, and he went up to him and said, "Hey, I know you. You were one of my students, weren't you?" "No, sir. No, I wasn't." And it wasn't a big celebrity. It was just like one of the local news guys. But he recognized him from the news, and the first thing that goes into his mind, "I used to teach you. I'm pretty sure of it." No, sir. No, you didn't.
Well, there's also kind of an unspoken rule in New York. Some friends of mine and I got to go see Spamalot in its initial run. A friend of mine who has done quite well for himself decided to have a reunion, flew us all up to New York and got tickets for Spamalot, which was just freaking awesome. But we're sitting in the auditorium and we realize that Colin Mockery from Whose Line Is It Anyway is sitting over there. And then 3 rows ahead of us are Sigourney Weaver and Alan Rickman.
Wow.
And we're freaking the hell out. And then at intermission, we're like, "Should we go talk to him? Should we say hi?" And then we noticed nobody was saying anything to them. Nobody was staring at them. Everyone was just leaving them alone. And we were like, "All right, that's the vibe. Let them have a night at the theater without being pestered by people."
I can understand that. Actually, it's funny. I just saw on the news the other day, a couple were in Central Park getting their wedding photos done. And Denzel Washington, of all people, walks up and like, "Hey, can I take a photo with you guys?" And they're just like, "Oh!" But no one, I mean, the other photos that they showed on the news are like all the other people who were in Central Park just kept on walking. They're just, just Denzel,
You hear the people that say that I met so-and-so and they were a complete jerk to me or whatever. It's like, well, you probably bothered them in the middle of their routine or something like that, But I did hear a story of somebody seeing Samuel L. Jackson somewhere and wanting to go up and say something, but not doing it, and Samuel L. Jackson noticed them. And so when he got done doing whatever he was doing, I don't know, buying a hot dog at a hot dog stand or something, he walked over to him and said, you guys want an MFing photo or something?" All right. So, what did you guys think about the redesign of Steppenwolf?
I actually liked it.
Better.
Loved
Much
it.
better.
I thought he looked good. I thought he looked better in black and white, actually.
Yeah, he does.
With
He's
all
one of
those
those
plates and stuff. Yeah.
The gold. I wasn't crazy about the gold, but the rest of it, because I always thought that in 2017 he looked like a PlayStation character.
No, he looked awful.
Yeah. My problem with him in the original version was I didn't understand why they went CG with him, because it was just a dude in a funny hat who could have not been a cartoon and it would have been a lot better. This made it work a whole lot better.
Do we really want to see the Justice League fight a dude in a funny hat?
But I wouldn't have been going, "Wow, that's some really crappy CG."
Yeah,
like he literally wears like a nightcap in the comics. Like,
yeah, that's true.
They also made him where he was not. I mean, he was the big bad, but he wasn't the big bad. They made it. Yeah. They made this version made it so that there was Darkseid above him.
Oh, it was so great to see him finally.
Yeah, it was great.
Yeah, so Steppenwolf wasn't the big bad; he was the primary bad in this movie. Whereas in the original cut, he was the big bad.
Yeah,
now he's just the one that you see the most of. The original cut, he was suffering from gooey face quite a bit. It did him no favors, but he looked a lot better this time around. I did not realize in all of the lead up stuff that I had seen leading up to the Snyder cut. I did not realize that he was going to have a face. I thought it was going to be primarily, covered by the rest of the armor that he was wearing. So when he showed up, and you could still see a Steppenwolf face with the Steppenwolf, chin horns there.
Yeah.
I was a little bit worried. It's like, oh, did they change their mind? Did they stick with it? Oh no, this face is way better. Okay, cool.
Mm-hmm. And it also the mouth was a lot more realistic than the original.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And most importantly, his face was so expressive. Like that went a long way in really solidifying the character and the arc he had gone through. Like, and I felt so much more sympathy and was so much more interested in this version of Steppenwolf, because if you'll recall in the 2017 version, all he's doing is being kind of creepy and claiming women and then like going, oh mother, when he gets near the box,
Yeah.
I don't even know what that was about.
We never really figure in that original version. We never really figure out what he wants those boxes for.
No,
and
for the
this
unity,
version,
but...
this version we know, he's doing it because he's trying to make up for failing Darkseid at some point in the past.
And he's not being Homelander over here having a weird mother complex. He's suddenly like, he's for eons now, he has been conquering worlds for Darkseid, and he just wants to be forgiven. He just wants to go home.
Right.
And then for Ed to decide to tell him you still have 50,000 more worlds to conquer for Darkseid before you can even like have a conference with him. Just like the little mouth twitches. Like I saw people putting like Puss in Boots in the Steppenwolf armor. I saw people putting like Baby Yoda in the armor.
Eyes
like
welling up. Yeah.
When Steppenwolf got those big eyes at different points in the movie, sometimes it was because he was sad that he couldn't get back into Darkseid's good graces, or when he got scared because he saw Darkseid show up in, I'm just going to call it the slab because I still don't know what it was, that he put the mother boxes in. But when Darkseid becomes the slab and I see real big and he's scared, it's like, okay, you know what? I buy it.
And that's one of my favorite things is when he sees Darkseid and he kneels and the armor
it all falls off or disappears or something.
In complete submission, the armor just sheds away. Like, oh my God, that is so good.
John says, what was this crime that he needed forgiveness for? I thought that he was that Darkseid blamed him for losing that big battle at Earth, wasn't it?
No.
Oh, it was something else.
It was some Game of Thrones BS from back in the day, like family stuff. Like it's complicated. It's not really necessary to go into it.
Well, Steppenwolf
looked cute with those eyes.
Oh well.
No, Dave, check me on this. Steppenwolf is Darkseid's nephew, right?
I think he's his uncle. But they go back and forth in the comics. Like originally, I think he was like Darkseid is Steppenwolf's nephew originally, and then they switched it at some point in one of the canons. But Zach's going by the original, whatever that one is. I can't remember which one was the original version either. But I knew
they were related. I didn't remember how. But how about that other henchman dude that kept popping up and talking to him? That was pretty cool. Yeah.
Desaad.
Voiced by Peter Guinness of all people.
Oh, really? Yeah, I didn't know that.
I did not know who voiced Darkseid in the movie when it was happening. I was listening to it. I thought he had a great voice. The voice actor for Darkseid did a wonderful job. I waited till the credits, and then I checked, and then I saw Dave. Did you take note of who did the voice for Darkseid?
Oh yeah, no, it's Ray Porter.
Yeah.
And last night, I finished listening to the third book in the Bobiverse series of novels, audiobooks narrated by Ray Porter.
Nice.
He does a ton of books.
I had no idea that and like I said, I've just listened to like over 25 hours of that guy reading audiobooks. In less than a month, I've listened to over 25 hours of him, and I had no idea that he was doing Darkseid. So this guy's good.
Yeah, he also did the stop motion for Darkseid.
Did he?
Oh,
wow.
Really?
Yes, he did.
Nice.
Yeah. But yeah, like people have been showing video like Darkseid's and Frasier. Like he's been on TV for years. He was the whale and he was one of 3 whales in Monk. Like he's been showing up for forever. But yeah, he's
another one of those guys who's been in everything kind of actors.
Yeah. But he's also he's been really cool with the fan base since it came out that he was the voice of Darkseid. He has been really keyed in with the Snyder fans and has been on tons of streaming shows. Sean, you could probably reach out to Ray Porter and get him on the show.
I will try.
He's a super nice dude. He really is.
This movie. Okay, so the movie has humor, but Snyder was not going for. He was going for more of a darker tone. So a lot of the Whedon-esque jokiness is gone. So you don't get Aquaman saying "booyah," and Batman doesn't ask Aquaman if he talks to fish. Things like that. He said that in this version. He didn't say that in this version.
No,
I thought he did.
No.
You might have watched the wrong one. Was your version 4 hours long?
Yeah.
Which, the reason, I don't know, like the first time when he says, "I hear you talk to fish," with that little smirk, I actually liked that. And it was in Zack's first trailer, like his original trailer back in 2017.
Trailer.
But, and that was before Whedon came on. So I'm wondering if either that was a Jeff Johns add-in, because Jeff Johns came on and started kind of rewriting stuff, or wholly rewriting stuff.
Oh, John says you're right, Rick. He did. Okay.
I don't remember it, but okay.
Take your word for it.
He doesn't say it. No, yeah. Snyder cut it out of this version of this movie.
I watched it this afternoon. I finished it 3 hours ago, and I was listening for that line. I didn't hear
it. Yeah.
Yeah, but they did leave in where Barry asked, "What's your superpower?" "I'm rich."
Well, that's what I was going to say. The jokiness with Barry was still there, because you can't really have Barry without having those jokes. That's kind of that character,
I think importantly, the movie was a lot funnier. Like a lot of the same jokes are in there, but what is missing are the weird ham-fisted reactions from Batman. It's strong man is strongest alone. You ever heard that? Batman just ignores that. He's just like, nope, that was something stupid that Aquaman just said. I'm just going to ignore it and move on.
Yeah. And also that scene so the scene with Alfred and Diana, where he's teaching her how to make tea and stuff like that.
He's micromanaging her. I love it.
Pretty much.
He's crawling out of her skin because she's not doing it right.
He takes that laser and he blasts that gauntlet. And that scene wasn't in the original version.
No.
And without that, it doesn't make sense that Superman's heat vision just gets blocked by that gauntlet.
Yeah.
Now that we've got that scene makes more sense. Oh, well, that's why it didn't just cut Bruce's arm off when he got blasted with heat vision.
Yeah, that and further in the movie, in the Whedon cut, Superman just kind of shows up at the end. And in this version, that you find out he actually flies to Alfred first to figure out where they are.
Yeah. Well, we still had the part where they're in the sewer. And when they bust through the wall, Aquaman just shows up because there's water there now. It's like, where was he just out there hanging around, waiting for a hole to bust in the wall or something?
Well, you forget he does talk to fish, so he was probably putting out feelers, trying to figure out where some kind of massive thing was happening.
He puts his fingers up to his head, and those lines come out of his head. And
oh
yeah.
Now, I was gonna make the woo 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 sound, but I couldn't.
The one thing that they did put in, there was a lot of Aquaman stuff that we didn't see originally, which now, having seen Aquaman, which actually takes place after this movie, like Willem Dafoe's character is there, and Amber Heard's character is there, but then they do the thing where when he's underwater and they need to talk to each other, they form this big bubble around themselves.
They didn't do that talk to each other underwater? I mean, it's an entire race of water-dwelling people. Is there have they not devised a way to talk to each other without creating a big dome of air around them?
Sign language.
Well, if you recall in Aquaman, they said that the reason they do that is when they want to speak secretly. When they don't want anyone to be able to hear them.
All right, so their voices won't travel through the water if they make the thing.
Right.
Okay, that makes sense. And I think I only saw Aquaman just the one time. So yeah, I do not remember that.
Yeah, I've only seen that movie once, and I really didn't like it very much.
It wasn't completely my thing.
Yeah.
Go on to Aquaman. I wanted to say something about the Flash, because this was I had sort of a come to Barry moment watching this movie.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Flash. Go
I'm
ahead.
glad somebody did.
Because I've been kind of, I watched the first 4 seasons of the Arrowverse Flash and loved Grant Gustin as the Flash,
as one does.
As frustrating as he was, everybody knows that my
damn it, Barry.
Damn it, Barry. I was not prepared to like anyone else as the Flash, but this cut sold me on him.
It was much better in this version.
I will watch the his movie now, because I would have loved to have seen Grant Gustin, but they made him Snyder made him different enough, but still incredibly likable, that I'm on board for him as the Flash now in the DCE, the DC.
DCU.
Yeah, well, because number one, they added back in the scene his original first scene where he saves. I guess it's Iris, but they don't.
I think
actually
it's Iris.
It is
Iris. Yeah.
So he saves Iris in that car wreck, and then they also make it so that Barry kind of saves the day at the. I mean, the whole movie kind of hinges on him at the end.
Kinda. He saves the entire world.
He saves the world, yeah.
And I gotta say, the one scene I remember from the original, the one scene that I loved in the original, and I'm glad was still there, was when he was running around Superman, and Superman turns and looks at him.
And like,
yes.
That little look just with the eye as it turns and follows Barry.
And he just
very effective. Very effective. Now, I did take a note in regards to Barry's first scene in the movie. I had to note the fact that Iris looks so serene as she is in her dying moment.
But
flying through the air out of her. Well, she did know that she was about to hit that truck, and then she hit the truck, and she's ejected from the vehicle because she wasn't wearing her seatbelt. That's a no-no, Iris. And she's flying through the air with just a blank look on her face. There's no scream, there's no wincing, there's no nothing. Just a serene blank look on her face, which was unusual enough. And then Barry just starts getting really creepy.
Yeah,
starts rubbing her face.
Maybe it's just me, but if I'm utilizing my superpowers out in public to save someone's life, I don't know that I'm going to take a moment to stroke their hair and then, very conspicuously, grab a hot dog. I got scared.
That was a little creepy until we knew why he grabbed the hot dog, but it still was,
Yeah.
I saw him put the hot dog in his pocket. I'm like, thank Christ.
Yeah. Let's see, the hair thing was, he just, thought she was pretty or whatever, but everything else,
place, Barry.
Oh, I agree. Well, if you can go that fast, and the dude does not exist in our timeline, really. Like, he's just like, every moment is just slugging by. And, but to think that, like, a lot of people were like, oh, the whole thing, I saw some people, not a lot actually, but a couple people were like, oh, it was super creepy the way he like gingerly puts her down. I'm like, dude, he's going so fast, he will break every bone in her body if he grabs her any more gingerly or any less gingerly than that.
I was glad to see him do that. I was worried that they were just going to have him drop her on the ground, and he put her down really carefully.
Yeah, and one of my favorite moments.
He should have moved her away a little bit more, because he kind of lays her down underneath the car that's flying by.
But one of my favorite moments is like when he turns to go save her, and his shoes just like shred and burn and rip off of him.
I saw a meme where, because when he turns to go save her, he touches the window and it just shatters, right? And I saw a meme that said the reason Flash can break that window is because Windows doesn't support Flash.
Yep.
I also want to say that joke notwithstanding, because I I'm trying not to gripe too much about the things I didn't like in this movie, but one thing that really drives me nuts about Zack Snyder is all of the damn slow motion.
I think I have 4 slow motion mentions in my notes.
Okay.
But it works beautifully with Barry because
you can't do it without.
It shows us what happens to the world in his perspective when he shifts into the Speed Force, and I loved it there. I thought it was beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hey, Bad Robot and JJ is going to be doing some DC movies, so you get to change out your slow motion for lens flares.
Lens flare.
I'll take the slow motion. I like the slow motion because to me that slow motion equals splash page in a comic book. Like you want those slow, gorgeous, like huge scenes, which I think every shot, every frame of this movie could be like my desktop background. Yeah. Like I want every frame of this movie on my wall. So I don't mind slow motion. I get it, but I don't mind it. Bother me.
I understand it makes sense. Yeah, you gotta pick your moments. Unfortunately, this is Zack Snyder who made 300, which made that sort of slow motion popular enough that it comprises about 40% of every episode of Spartacus that Starz put out.
Oh man!
Yes. I will take the slow motion though over the damn shaky cam. I hate shaky cam quick cuts, so you can't see any of the action. I don't know what's happening anywhere. Like, and I'll take it over. I know I'm going to get some hate for this. I'll take it over Chris Nolan's whatever his version of action is because he does not shoot action well.
No, he doesn't.
Actually, did you notice Christopher Nolan was one of the executive producers for this?
Yeah, he was one of the executive producers on Man of Steel, and his function on that movie was to keep the studio off of Zack's back. I actually got an opportunity to talk to Zack very briefly on a live stream and ask him if there was going to be a Man of Steel director's cut, and he was like, "No, that was one of the few. Like that's maybe my only movie that like there was no interference, and I was actually really happy with what was put out."
Yeah, Zack Snyder and Christopher Nolan are pretty good friends, and they and Christopher Nolan is the one that told Zack Snyder, "Don't ever watch Justice League; it'll break your heart."
Now, I will say this for Snyder: only one dream sequence. I was very impressed at the restraint.
Only one?
There was more than one.
Nobody had time to go to sleep.
There was more than one?
Yes.
Yeah.
What was the other one? There was the one at the end.
There was the one.
Was there?
The best one. The one where Cyborg is connecting with the Kryptonian ship and he sees the future and he sees Wonder Woman dead on the funeral pyre. He sees Superman holding Lois's smoldering skeleton in the Batcave with Darkseid behind him.
Mm-hmm.
I interpreted that as a dream sequence.
It was totally nightmare, because then he wakes up,
see Superman holding Batman's cowl in his hand too.
Yes, and flying above a dead Kilowog in front of the Hall of Justice.
Mm-hmm.
And as he wakes up from that, and he whispers no, and Barry mishears him and goes go, and then runs, and as soon as he touches the mother box, freaking Carla Gugino as the voice, the scout ship voice says that great line from Excalibur. The future has taken root in the present. Oh
yeah.
No. Okay, I know I'm with you. I didn't really that seemed more like a. I don't know.
I saw it more as a hallucination.
Well, it's a vision, but visions
it was a
and
vision,
dreams
not
are,
a as opposed to in Batman versus Superman, where it was every third scene with Bruce Wayne, it was he's in a pit with bats. Oh, it's a dream. Okay.
Well, so the nightmare scenes, those are dreams that Bruce is having, but those are visions of actual visions of the future, because that's what was actually supposed to happen if Zack Snyder had been allowed to make the rest of his movies.
Superman flying above that Hall of Justice with the cowl is direct continuation from the BVS scene where he rips off the cowl and blasts Batman to death.
Yeah. And let me getting back to that whole end dream sequence. Has any of the rest of you played Injustice or read the comic?
Yes.
Yeah, I played the game a couple of times. Yeah.
Okay, it was very Injustice the way they were setting it up, wasn't it?
In a lot of ways, yeah. And Zach has said that was a major influence on where he wanted to take it briefly.
I want to talk about where he was going. But before I do, I wanted to mention that we had almost the same scene. There was a couple of changes where Martha Kent comes to visit Lois. First of all, we see that Lois. Who visits
Lois?
Well, that's what I'm getting. I'm getting to that, Rick. First of all, we find out that in the original version, Lois was still working for the Daily Planet, but she was writing from home. In this version, she's not working for the planet anymore. She's just at home. She's grieving, and she's going to Superman's memorial every day.
By the way, the cop she visits is Mark McClure from
yes, I
Bill Donner movies. Jimmy and Lois. Jimmy and Lois finally having a.
Oh, is that okay?
I didn't make the connection. I saw his name in the credits, but by the time I got to the credits, it's a long movie. I forgot who Jerry was.
Yeah. Well, then Martha, when she leaves, she steps outside, and we find out that wasn't Martha at all. That was Martian Manhunter. Now, I know that the scene at the end where we see Bruce talking to Martian Manhunter was not originally shot to be Martian Manhunter. It was supposed to be Green Lantern that he was talking to. So, and Dave, you may know, was this scene originally were we supposed to find out that was Martian Manhunter, or did he do this for this cut?
The Martha scene was always supposed to be Martian Manhunter. I saw some old, what do you call them? Storyboards.
Dailies?
No, storyboards. Okay. He had to shoot the scene with Harry Lennox because they had not quite gotten that yet.
Harry Lennox is great.
Yes, he is. But yeah, that was always the plan. But yeah, they were going to bring in. It was going to be John Stewart's Green Lantern, and then the studio WB told him he couldn't use it, and he almost quit over that. And he was like, "No, you know what? The fans want to see it. We can make it work with Harry Lennox. That'll be fine." But and then he was also going to bring in Ryan Reynolds to do it.
I read that.
To do it to be Green Lantern because he's friends with Ryan Reynolds, and he's always been like, you know what, that movie, he needs another chance because that was another movie that Jeff Johns screwed over.
Yeah,
like I've read the original script. It did not read like that movie did. So
John says Martian Manhunter only showed up for the conversations and none of the fighting.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, that was funny. He's like, it's time I started fighting for this world. Like, really? Because we couldn't really use your help, buddy.
Now is the time because there was kind of a fight that was going on just a couple minutes ago. But now is okay, sure. Now is the time for fighting. And speaking of that final scene, I had no idea that was originally supposed to be a Green Lantern showing up to talk to Bruce. So that's pretty cool. But regardless, whether it was a glowing verdant space cop or a straight up another alien, which Bruce
was also a space cop.
Yeah, also a space cop, but a very alien space cop. And Bruce had some problems with aliens before. But regardless of who it was supposed to be, this is another flying person that just shows up at your house, and he's like, "Can I help you?"
Yeah.
He
and then
really
when he leaves,
took that
Bruce
whole thing in stride.
Oh, that's the thing. Yeah.
He took that whole thing in easy stride. It was quite an easy meeting.
Not to cross the streams or anything, but to quote Captain Janeway, "We're Starfleet. Weird is part of the job description."
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, suspicion, caution, and wariness is part of who Batman is. But just to walk out onto his porch and say, "Can I help you?" and have a pleasant conversation with someone and be like, "All right, well, nice to meet you. Goodbye."
You don't think he had like a bomb in his pocket ready to throw?
Well, then show it to me. If it's not on screen, it's not real.
I don't. At this point, like Bruce is at a different point in his life. He has regained his faith, as he reiterated through the movie. So I'm very good with where they left. And where I didn't need, Batman v Martian Manhunter.
Yeah, Ben Affleck looked a lot different.
That's a fair enough point. It's a fair enough point, and I take it, and it makes sense. And I even was realizing that while watching the movie. But everyone has their own personal interpretation of all these characters in their mind from either one particular source material or a combination of various source materials. And my Batman that I have in my head is the one who doesn't trust anybody. Tower of Babel Batman is the Batman that I usually have in my head. So when I see him actually trusting people on screen, it doesn't jibe with my Batman. So that's why it just threw me off a little bit.
Well, I mean, look, you're going to go from Bruce is willing to, if there's a 1% chance of Superman being their enemy, he's got to take it as an absolute certainty and kill him, to, at the end of this movie, he's working with the freaking Joker.
Yeah.
Well, in a dream sequence, but yeah.
But I did like Batman telling him, he said, you know, on the day that I kill you, and don't get this wrong, I will effing kill you.
Yes.
Yeah, that's totally F-bombs in this film, by the way.
Oh, yeah.
It
was R-rated.
3 of them.
Can I just jump in here at this moment? Now, Dave, just really quickly, I'm the odd man out in this bunch because I don't read comics.
Okay.
And I don't know if I've ever, we've only been on a couple of shows together, so I don't know if I've told you this before. So I'm coming at this from my exposure to the DC is both from osmosis of friends. All of my friends read comics. I just don't, and I don't know why. And what I see on TV.
Okay.
So, a lot of the stuff y'all are digging from this movie is just sort of flying over my head because I have no context for it. So it's kind of like, and folks that have listened to the show have heard me use this analogy before. I am a huge Star Trek fan.
Yes, me too.
Good. And I have for years been told I need to lighten up because the movies have to appeal to more than just me.
Yeah,
and
I've heard that.
Now I'm coming at things like the MCU and the DCEU from that standpoint of I don't know any of this. I don't have the backstory for most of this stuff other than just what was in Dynamite magazine when I was in grade school. No, nobody Dynamite. Oh Jesus, you're also.
I didn't read. I didn't read a ton of comics, but most of my most of my DC knowledge comes from all the freaking animation that I watched in the 90s and the aughts.
No, yeah, I know what you're talking about.
But anyway,
I was just listening. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, and so if some of the stuff you're talking about is I'm not responding to, it's because a lot of these things I'm hearing for the first time now.
Yeah.
So I'm coming at the movie from a standpoint of how does it appeal to someone who really doesn't know a lot of the minutia of these characters. Which is one of the reasons why I was cautioned to be nice tonight, and not obliquely, not overtly, but I picked up that shoe and I put it on. But I did enjoy the movie. I really liked it, and I put out I'm old too. After watching this movie, I put out on Facebook, and it's gotten more responses than a lot of things I put out. I just said Ben Affleck is the best Batman. Affleck.
Yeah.
Oh.
I thought he was amazing as Batman and as Bruce Wayne. And that to me is kind of I was in college, or I was just getting out of college when the Michael Keaton Batman came out.
Mm-hmm.
And when they announced Michael Keaton was playing Batman, I was like, excuse me.
I think everybody was. I think.
And I liked him as Bruce Wayne. I never bought him as Batman. And it was kind of like, as the movies progressed, we always got someone who was good as one.
But he even told us, I'm Batman.
Yeah. I thought Clooney was the whole package, but he got the worst movie of all of them.
True.
And so I thought Affleck did an amazing job as Batman in this movie. And, Batman versus Superman, it had its own problems, but the performances weren't one of them.
I didn't have a problem with Batman versus Superman until about the last 30 minutes.
It
was a good movie until.
Why did you say that name?
Well,
now, when you guys are complaining about BVS, are you talking about the theatrical cut or the Ultimate Edition?
I haven't even seen the Ultimate Edition.
Oh my God!
I hated what they did to Doomsday.
Well, Luthor was bad too.
I hated what they did to Lex Luthor, and I
liked Lex Luthor.
Oh no!
Here's my question for Dave.
I didn't mind Lex in this. Now, the Lex in this movie was okay.
Well, he's only in like
he was only in one scene,
30 seconds.
But he was more Lex-like in that scene than he was in Batman versus Superman.
I have a question for Dave because I know he's seen the ultimate cut of BVS.
Yes.
Did they add another 10 to 15 minutes of fighting between Batman and Superman at the climax of the film?
No.
Then I don't want to watch it.
No, they added actual.
That was my main.
They added
issue.
blood to a few of the scenes that he's doing with the thugs. I remember that.
Yeah, they did add some viscera, but
and some Affleck butt. I heard they also added.
Did they? I don't remember that, but okay.
Yes, they did. But importantly, they added subplots that made the movie make sense.
It would have been easy to help the movie make a little bit more sense, but that's just me. However, my main problem with the movie, I saw it in. I think the only time I've watched it all the way through was when I went to the theater to see it. I was still married back then, so we took my stepson to see the movie, and I was waiting and waiting and waiting, and when the fight finally started, it's Batman v Superman. Harry Lennox quoted one of the lines from the climactic battle scene in The Dark Knight Returns in the comic from the 80s. He quoted that line that comes during the fight to say this movie is coming. That's how they introduced the concept of the film. It was a line from the fight. So I was looking forward to this fight, and I had been waiting so long that when the fight started, I surreptitiously started the stopwatch on my wrist, and then I stopped it when the fight was over. And later on I checked, and it was less than 8 minutes. For a movie that's called Batman versus Superman, that's not a whole lot of verses for that kind of a runtime. I was a bit disappointed.
Well, I would challenge you to go back and watch Batman Begins and start your time clock at the point where he actually becomes Batman. And for a movie called Batman Begins, see how much he's actually Batman in that movie.
You got a point.
Well, the biggest problem that I had with Batman versus Superman is that I hated that they even put Doomsday in the movie, because whenever DC tries to tackle the Death of Superman comics and tries to make a version of it, they never do it justice until that animated movie that they made about 2 years ago.
I remember that.
But they tried. They made an anime. What'd you say, Rick?
Did it have a giant effing spider in it?
No. See, that's another thing. Kevin Smith was going to do a movie about it and didn't do it justice. They never want to make a movie.
They never listen to A Night with Kevin Smith, his first one. He had a great idea. He had a lot of great ideas, and then that hairdresser producer made him write
John Peters.
But he still was not going to make a movie of the story that happened in the comics, because
you would have to have 20 years of exposition.
It would
movies
be an
just to get to it.
It would be a big movie. It would probably be a trilogy.
You would have to lay the groundwork like Marvel did with the Avengers. You would have to have separate movies. You'd have to have movies. First, you have to do individual movies to introduce characters, and then a team-up movie to introduce the Justice League, and then you introduce that Justice League into the Superman story, because you're going to need Bloodwind, you're going to need Booster Gold, you're going to need Blue Beetle, you're going to need Ice, Fire.
But that's why I groan anytime they want to bring Doomsday into their story. That when they did it here, and not in Justice League, but in Batman v Superman, I knew they weren't going to do it right. They even tried to bring Doomsday into Smallville, and they made it a dude that was like a werewolf that would just.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And it was just, but then they finally made the animated film a couple of years ago that got as close as I think we're ever going to get.
Well, look, I'll be the the dissenting voice here and just say, look, Doomsday is a crap villain anyway. He was in the comics. He was basically a gray bony Hulk.
Yeah. He was just he was a monster.
He screamed gimmick from day one. I remember like all the headlines and everything. I was a kid and I went, Superman's not going to stay dead. It's Superman.
No.
And
this is stupid. This is to make money. And
it's just like when they did the electric blue Superman and they turned him into just electricity or whatever. Then they split him and did Superman Red and Superman Blue. That's not going to stick. That's not going to stay like that.
I've got action figures of it, but I knew it wasn't going to stick.
Yeah. Let's talk about what Snyder was going to do if he'd been allowed to make Justice League 2 and 3. So he was interviewed by Vanity Fair, and I don't know if the interview happened after the release of the movie or if it was something that happened beforehand. But anyway, he did an info dump in that interview, and he said that a lot of what you saw in the nightmare scene was going to play into those next two movies. So it was going to be a terrifying future where Earth has pretty much ended. Darkseid's taken over. He's used the anti-life equation and turned a lot of humanity into these parademons and stuff like that. And then Superman is normally resistant to this kind of stuff, but Darkseid finds a way around Superman's willpower by using his biggest weakness, which is Lois Lane. And so Superman goes off to fight Darkseid, and he tells Bruce Wayne, protect Lois. Well, Bruce protects her by sleeping with her. and eventually they have like this brief love affair. And then that idea was rejected by the studio, so he was going to rewrite it. He wasn't going to make it a love affair. Yeah, I know.
If you'll notice in this movie, Lois is already pregnant. She had the pregnancy test in her nightstand.
She had the pregnancy test there. I was like,
and then they heavily hinted at the end when she's got what looks like a bassinet, and you hear Bruce say, "Congratulations to Clark." Like it is heavily hinted that she's already pregnant.
Yeah, and they were going to if these movies had been made, Superman and Lois at the end were going to have a baby. They were going to name the baby Bruce, and then they were going to take him as a child or as a teenager to the Batcave and hint that he was going to be the next Batman. But
I see what you did there, John.
But the anti-life equation is 24. But okay, so what was going to happen was Darkseid was going to realize that Lois was the key to Superman's willpower, and he was going to kill her. So Bruce was going to hesitate in one crucial moment, and Superman was going to blame Bruce for Lois's death, and Darkseid was going to be able to use that to take over Superman, and Superman was going to become this big bad guy or whatever. And Batman and Cyborg was going to find a way to send Flash back in time to warn Bruce, which is what we saw in Batman v Superman when Flash shows up on the monitor and everything. And then time travel shenanigans ensue, and Bruce would eventually sacrifice himself to save Lois and save the world. And that's what Joker meant when he wonders how many realities Batman had the cojones to die in. So, yeah. And then there was going to be like this huge epic Battle of the Five Armies type war scene that had the Amazons, the
Green Lanterns.
The Atlanteans, the Green Lanterns, the whatever humans are left, and all that was going to come together and just be this big battle against Darkseid and save the world. So.
Okay. I got a question about the Amazons, because the first hour of this movie was
also like the Themyscira scene was very long.
The first hour was a slog. Okay, that's why when you said you probably would have cut an hour out of it, I was like, yes, it needed. I understand this is an event, so we're just going to dump everything in there and screw the runtime.
Actually, his assembly cut was over 5 hours long, so that's
I'm
not what he did.
But that first hour was hard. It was hard to get through. I really enjoyed seeing more Barry. I really enjoyed all the cyborg stuff we got. But the stuff on Themyscira, how are you?
Themyscira, yeah.
Themyscira. I loved Wonder Woman. I loved Wonder Woman. I enjoyed most of Wonder Woman 84. It had its problems, but it was still kind of fun.
Except that the bad guy did the same thing that the Riddler did in Batman Forever.
Yeah, well, whatever.
And the good guy did the same thing that Bill Cosby did to. No, never mind.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Wonder Woman 84 has some serious issues, but I'm just I never doubted the power of the Amazons until this movie. Because, it was kind of like, what we'd seen before was more like the Wakandan fighters who they looked like they were using spears and shields and bows and arrows and stuff, but they were actually high-tech weaponry that just looked like bows and shields and spears and stuff like that. Yeah. Here we had one of the most dangerous objects in the galaxy being guarded literally by people with spears and shields and swords.
And there were like 50 of them.
And
to be fair, mankind just buried theirs.
It's the smartest thing to do.
Atlantis let an octopus
and bury
eat
that
theirs.
damn thing. Yeah. And the more we saw of the Amazons in this particular movie, the less impressed I was with them. And that bummed the hell out of me because everything we've seen about the Thymosirians in the previous movies we've seen them just had me like on the verge of tears with joy. I love Wonder Woman. I love the whole mythos of Wonder Woman. And I thought that where this movie really stumbled was that whole section.
I loved that sequence, and it didn't make me feel like they were weaker. It made me feel like, damn, Steppenwolf is strong.
That too.
That's what I could tell they wanted to do, or where they were trying to go with it. But it was just like every time any one of them went up against him, he just swatted them like a fly because all they had were these primitive weapons, and they weren't even, apparently primitive. They were primitive, and there just was no tactics, seal the building and throw it in the ocean. Was anyone surprised when they flew up out of the water? There was I was so disappointed by the whole Amazonian section of this film that I'm glad it happened right away, and I'm glad the rest of the movie was so good. Because at that point I was like really close to going, oh geez, all right, I'm done with this. But then, once they got past it, it got better really fast. But I think that the whole Amazonian thing was seriously underserved by this film.
Yeah, John reminds us that Wonder Woman is stronger than the average Amazon.
Yeah, because she's half god.
She's Zeus's daughter. So
right.
Speaking of Zeus, did you see how buff that dude was playing Zeus?
Yeah.
Holy crap!
And the guy playing Ares. Like the Ares almost took out Darkseid, dude.
So this came out in
not Darkseid, Uxas.
This stuff was all filmed in before 2017, right? So
right.
Ares came down and put that axe in the side of Steppenwolf. I was like, did they steal that for Avengers Infinity War, because that's what Thor did with
I was like, you should have aimed for the head.
You should went for the head. Yep.
There is actually some receipts to indicate that Zack's whole plan, and you can see like the whiteboards they have them on display in Dallas, where like they had written all the whole plan out for the three movies. They had them ironically, Jeff Johns is the one who wrote it as it was dictated to him, and Jim Lee drew pictures. But there are some receipts that would indicate that Jeff Johns, who was college roommates with Kevin Feige, they were both proteges of Dick Donner, may have leaked the plans to Kevin Feige. Not only for this, but for BVS as well, which is why they changed it to Doomsday from Metallo.
Yeah, and it kind of, I noticed
why Civil War was so similar.
When I was watching this, it didn't strike me the first time that I saw the movie, but this the scene with Bruce and Barry, the first time that they meet, reminded me a lot of Tony and Peter in Civil War. You know, there's a lot of that.
Now that we've seen both the
billionaire and teenager having a conversation.
Yeah,
that kind of stuff going on. But I don't know.
Marvel and DC were stealing stuff from each other since the get-go.
Well,
so.
Yeah, that was in the comics too.
I mean, Thanos. You know, they literally ripped off Thanos. I mean, ripped off Darkseid to make Thanos. Like there was that conversation where they're like, "Oh no, because he was going to make him like Metron," and they're like, "No, if you're going to do that, if you're going to rip off a new god, rip off the really good one."
Well, I mean, the whole thing of Steppenwolf is going around the world trying to find these mother boxes. I mean, that's Thanos going around trying to find the Infinity Stones. You know,
there's only 3 of them.
Thing.
You know?
Yeah,
like,
I mean, you know, the cosmic MacGuffins, yay!
Yeah.
Welcome to comic books, y'all.
Let me ask y'all a question, because I mean, I may be jumping ahead, and excuse me, but is there a ghost of a chance that any of this will continue?
A ghost of a chance, yeah. I mean, they're saying no. Warner Brothers is saying no. Zack Snyder is saying no, but you know, he said no before, and then we got this.
Zack Snyder's saying they don't want to do any more with him, and he's not planning on it. But at the same time, over on Vero, he's telling us, "Hey, keep it on repeat." Because and like the Ann Sarnoff interview that she did, like if you look at those questions, they were like they told Brent Lang what to ask. They said very specific answers. No, we're going to deny the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad's going to happen. We're going to say no more Justice League. We're moving in a great new direction with a multiverse. We want to embrace all the different filmmaker visions, just not Snyder's. And all of that was done before it came out. This movie, Zack Snyder's Justice League, has broken records for you know, Canada's Crave, for like all their streaming partners are reporting these numbers. Notice who hasn't reported a number: Warner Media for HBO Max. Yeah, like, and I think at the end of the day, Jason Kyler, the CEO, he wants money. He's the one getting all of old Hollywood butthurt over streaming. You know, Warner Brothers doesn't want their precious Toby Emmerich and Walter Hamada to go by the wayside. They don't want them to look like idiots for what they did in 2017. So, well, really just Toby, but they've already parted ways with Joss Whedon, though. They kicked him off of the Nevers after the investigation.
Yeah.
So, I think it's even though they're saying no, I mean, we just trended Restore the Snyderverse 1.5 million tweets. On a Wednesday.
It's one of the biggest hashtag movements ever.
I think there is more than a ghost of a chance, but
now will they get everybody back? I mean, that remains to be seen. I don't know. Is Ben Affleck going to come back? It depends on why they left. If Ben Affleck left because of Joss Whedon, and because there was all this stuff going on with his Batman movie that was going to be, he came out and said, well, he's not going to direct it, because Ben Affleck was originally supposed to direct it. And they changed that. So it depends on why they left, if they'll be able to get them back. Plus, money
Ben
talks.
Affleck's coming back to the Flash movie.
True.
That's right. That's right. I forgot about that.
As a cameo, but
And money talks. I mean, if they back the money truck, they'll be able to get everybody back.
I think if they came back for anybody, it would be Zach. They all like Zach. They're all friends with Zach. So I think they will.
Now, will it be the stuff that I just said? I don't know, because he's already come out and laid all this out. So he may have to make some changes.
That's strategy. Because I've seen people who are like general audience members who are like, who watched this thing out of curiosity because it was trending. They're like, oh, everybody wants to know what this is. And then they're like, oh my God, is this going to continue? What's happening? And then you try to tell them, like, well, look, Nightmare stuff didn't come from a comic. It's just like Zach's own thing that is part of the story he wanted to tell, inspired by something else.
No, it's a compilation of different.
It is, but it is his own story that he came up with. Like he and Chris Terrio came up with. So like, just like all of this stuff is. I mean, all of this stuff is just grabbed from a lot of different sources in the comics, and you just kind of make whole cloth from pieces of things. But
well, Bulin is saying that he's heard a rumor that they're going to continue it on HBO as a TV show to kind of compete with Disney Plus and their Marvel stuff. So
that's the hope.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll come back theatrically. I don't think they'll do theatrical. But if it comes back, it'll be HBO Max.
And it'll be fine. I'm fine with that because we've talked about the 4-hour runtime. This is the time that releasing 4-hour movies on streaming works because Martin Scorsese put out The Irishman a couple of years ago and it was 3.5 hours long and it was successful, because you're watching it in the comfort of your own home. You can pause it. You can go to the bathroom. You can get something to eat, whatever. And you don't have to worry about sitting in a movie theater nobody wants to sit in a movie theater for 4 hours.
Yeah.
I did it. I watched the entire Dark Knight trilogy in one night in a theater. I was there for like 8 hours.
Extended cuts of Lord of the Rings.
Have you seen the meme going around on Facebook right now that it's in light of the success of Justice League, Peter Jackson has announced he's releasing his extended director's cut of Lord of the Rings. It's 8.5 days long.
Oh my God.
It would have to be. So
I am curious, Rick, when you were talking about how the first hour of Zack Snyder's Justice League was a slog, was it more or less of a slog for you than WandaVision's entire run? Because I felt like that was just I wanted to die.
The first 3 episodes of WandaVision made me want to pull my head off. I was not in any way silent about that. I think that it's hard to say because in retrospect, I now get what they were doing with WandaVision.
Yeah.
It did, it wasn't my bag, baby, but I understand what they were doing and I appreciate the craft of it.
I still think if they had released the first 3 episodes at once instead of the first 2, everyone would have appreciated it a whole lot more.
Possibly.
Maybe, yeah.
Possibly. If I hadn't had to sit for 3 weeks stewing on that crap, yeah, maybe. There was just a lot of padding in that first hour.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Once they got to the first fight with Steppenwolf, or once they got past that first fight, then the movie just went pew. And
on our show I was talking about like, look, I'm glad Zach got to tell the thing he wanted to tell. I'm glad that he got to make it the way he wanted to make it. But in my head, the editor in me was sitting there going like, yep, cut.
Yeah,
we didn't need to see. We didn't.
Iceland is pretty.
We didn't need to see Alfred pour tea it was like a 4-second shot of Alfred pouring a glass of tea.
Yeah.
Well, see, I liked that. That was that keyed into some kind of like satisfaction thing in my head. I was just like, oh, look at him. He doesn't spill a drop. But I've seen the side of that mountainside like 15 times now, Zach. There's some snow. I get it, man.
For me, it was mainly the Themyscira part. I was like, okay, we could cut probably about half of this. It would have been better if it was a little tighter. And it was one of the few spots that the CGI I could tell was bad. There was that scene where it was Hippolyta and the other gal on the horses running away. Those horses looked so bad because they were so They were CGI with them, whatever on the. That was one of the few spots I was like, okay, they didn't really fix that.
And that's one of those scenes that's really fixed when it's in black and white. It looks so much better in black and white.
That's true.
But they were also killing people left and right that we didn't have time to get to know, so we didn't care.
Yeah, that too.
John pointed out that he says that the 4-hour runtime didn't bother him because they broke it up into 6 parts. That helped because I knew I watched this over 2 nights. I didn't watch it all in one sitting.
Yeah, we didn't either.
I watched it until the first night. I watched it until the end of the fight in the sewer when they decided that they were going to go and resurrect Superman. And then it breaks, and like the next part is part 5. So I stopped it right there. The next night I watched the rest of it, and that really helped. So it really was almost broken up into a miniseries if you wanted to watch it that way.
Yeah, I didn't mind it being released as a 4-hour thing because we knew ahead of time. They said this is going to be 4 hours long. If it had just been released and we're like, oh well, we're at 2 hours and it's not even close to done yet, then I would have been.
I wanted to ask one more
before we wrap this up.
Go ahead.
Okay. And this was one of the wonderful ironies of this cut. Zack Snyder is not known for his frivolous movies, and Joss Whedon is not known for being overly serious, but this cut made Superman a whole lot more fun than what was released in 2017, and I loved it because I did not like Superman. Superman is one of my favorite superheroes. Is probably not one of. He is my favorite superhero.
Something like that. Yeah.
Superman's my favorite Superman.
Yeah, my favorite Superman is Superman.
There are a few comics that I have read. One of my most traumatic childhood memories is bringing a Superman comic that I had to school when I was in first grade, and the big kids took it from me on the bus and were throwing it all over the place.
Oh.
I loved Superman since I was a kid. Christopher Reeve. Well, I watched George Reeves as a kid, but Christopher Reeve will always be my Superman. And yes, 3, 4 were terrible. But I still enjoy. Well, okay, not 4, but I enjoyed 3. And I like Superman. I don't particularly like the attempts to make him gritty, because Superman has always been fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so Man of Steel, Superman Returns, there was a lot wrong with that movie. And we talked about that earlier. And especially now we can ignore it because Kevin Spacey's in it. We'll just pretend it didn't happen.
And sadly, he was one of the more enjoyable parts of that movie.
Except he was totally riffing on Gene Hackman.
Well, of course. That's what the
whole movie was. Totally riffing on Christopher Reeve.
Homage, love letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Batman or Man of Steel, I really liked it for the most part, and I didn't have a problem with him killing Zod at the end. A lot of people were like,
Well, he killed him in the Reeve movie.
It's not new.
Yeah, it's not new.
He killed him in the comics a number of times.
It's just like when people lose their shit over Batman killing people. Go to your Michael Keaton revered Batman movie and do it. There's a YouTube body count.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
He literally kills in the old Adam West movie.
Yeah. Batman started wearing, when he was first written, he wore 245s on his hips. It was anyway.
He sure did.
Yeah.
I've got a Batman black and white statue with that.
Yeah. But the Whedon cut of this film, aside, bad mustache aside, it just spent more time with him being insane or dead. And then he came back and he was just like, I'm all better now. And it didn't make any sense. I loved all of the scenes in the Snyder cut that showed him getting his mojo back.
Lois is the key.
Mm-hmm.
And while I will say this, what's her name? Amy
Adams.
Amy Adams.
Mm-hmm. I've never liked her as Lois. She just didn't work for me as Lois.
Wow.
Yeah, it's not anything against her. I don't think she did a bad job. She just, maybe it's because
she was too good.
Well, she's not Margot Kidder.
I like.
She's not Margot Kidder.
She's not Margot Kidder, and I think and that's not her fault.
I've never liked Margot Kidder. I'm sorry,
but you see, she was my Lois. It's like your first James Bond, your first Doctor Who. Margot Kidder was my Lois.
Well, my first Lois was Terry Hatcher, but I don't care for her.
Not a good example.
I just, even as a kid, I was just like, Superman's in love with a reporter who chain smokes and can't spell. It's just weird.
I love Margot Kidder. I'm sorry. But in Man of Steel, she was just stupid, and Lois Lane should not be stupid. She was much better in Justice League, but she still, I may eventually, no. Anyway, but I loved how there was a sense of fun with Superman again. And it wasn't just him being, the whole scene where he's fighting with them at the beginning. And when Diana called him Kal-El, I almost cried. And I don't know why, but it just hit me. It was like, I love Wonder Woman. I love Diana.
Well, the only thing I didn't like about that is that she thought she was going to stop him by just saying Kal-El. No,
but that's what she would do. That's anyway.
I get what you're saying.
I liked how when he came back as Superman.
Yeah.
I have no opinion on the black outfit. I love this outfit.
Well, it harkened back to the comic when he came back to life. When he came back to life,
I'm cool with that.
But without a cape, he wasn't wearing a cape in the comic. Yeah.
But I didn't mind him in the black outfit, and I know people wanted to see the black outfit, so that was fine. But in the Whedon cut, he just sort of shows up.
Yeah.
And then God, I don't even remember. That's how memorable it was. I don't even remember what happened. I even wrote down, I'm not impressed. I laughed my ass off at that.
Yeah.
And then he was part of the team. He wasn't just showing up to be, dun, 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 and I'm now the movie. He was part of the team, and it was great. And I loved, one of the reasons Whedon was hired to do the movie at the last minute was because he was known for being able to handle an ensemble, but he didn't. He effed up big time. Not even just being a butthole. He just did not handle the ensemble well. I'm trying to behave because I made Sean edit at the beginning.
I know.
But Snyder's coverage of everybody in this movie was brilliant. Mm-hmm. And I've been bitching about Snyder for years. There's a movie we won't mention because I'll go off. But I think
he means Sucker Punch.
No, he's a little too heavy-handed for me most of the time. But this movie had a real light touch to it for him, and I was so impressed.
I would like to point out that Snyder did say that they are under some licensing agreements with Sucker Punch right now, but when that is up, he is developing a director's cut.
There already is a director's cut.
No, there's an extended edition.
Okay, I thought that was a director's cut.
He has a full director's cut because they made him cut. Like pretty much, they just keep making him cut all of his movies down because he tells really long stories.
Well, yeah. He does.
Yeah.
But yeah.
So I'll be interested to see that because I actually kind of like Sucker Punch.
I do too. I've seen the extended cut and I actually enjoyed it. So
me too. So when that director's cut comes out, I'm at 4K, baby. That's
I wanted to ask one more question before I wrap up. Did anybody notice that in the opening credits, because I noticed it yesterday when I was watching the Justice is Grey version, that in the credits it says Superman created by Jerry Siegel and Joe Shuster.
Yeah, but they didn't say about any of the other characters.
Didn't say, they created. I don't know if there's some kind of a license thing with Superman where anytime that he's on in a show or a movie that they have to put that in the credits, but it's not.
Schuster?
There is
Siegel and Schuster.
Yeah, there is.
Yeah, they got royally screwed for a long time.
Oh yeah. I know that. I know that story.
But it was same with Bob Kane with Batman, and
that's why I was when I was
Bill Finger.
No, Kane got all the credit, whereas the other guy,
Bill Finger,
who did the costume and everything, didn't get any credit. That's what happened there.
Yeah, I saw that in the credits. I was expecting to see Batman created by, Wonder Woman created by.
Exactly.
I didn't see any of that. It was just Superman. So
yeah, I did notice that because again, it was like, oh, nice. Where's the rest of them?
Right.
Yeah, because I always notice it, like when I'm watching Superman and Lois, when I watch Smallville, they always put Superman created by, and I wondered if there's some kind of a thing in their will or something that said that anytime you use this character, you have to put
it might be
who it's created by.
Well, the families took DC to court a few years ago, and a bunch of that was settled, and I don't know the specifics of it. I will say Batman v Superman was the first time in a theatrical release that it said Batman created by Bob Kane and Bill Finger.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And then it actually showed up on Gotham before that.
Yeah, it did.
Like the guy that worked with Gary Gygax, whose name I can't remember.
All
That's
right.
the problem.
Well,
Yeah.
the director's cut of this episode will be 4 hours long.
I was wondering.
And I have so many notes that I didn't even get to. Like a lot.
Just go through them real quick. Or you can come on DC on Scream DC on Screen and talk about them.
Oh, I should come and be a guest on DC on.
Yeah. One other thing I just want to point out really quickly, since you're mentioning notes we didn't get to. I loved that the bat voice was clearly electronic.
Yeah.
They did that in the last one, but this one is so like
Batman
did that in BVS. I really liked that. Yeah.
Batman in this movie.
I liked Bale's Batman, but every time he did the bat voice, it was so ludicrous. It just pulled me right out of the movie.
Yeah, Batman in this movie and Batman versus Superman really they take a lot from the Arkham Asylum video games and also the Dark Knight Rises. Like his costume in this looks a lot like what he wore in that video game.
Dark Knight Returns, you mean?
Dark Knight Returns. What did I say? Dark Knight Rises. Sorry.
Yeah.
Dark Knight Returns.
Well, it's also based off of him in the Frank Miller comic. That's where they got a lot of the design from. Was the Frank Miller comic? So, yeah,
that's Dark Knight Returns.
Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah. So the outfit was clearly inspired from that, and the vehicle he's standing on at the end of the movie is directly from Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah.
Oh, that tank! I wanted to see that in action. The guy that created Mortal Kombat was like, I've got a suggestion for Zack's next movie. He said it's like Zack Snyder's Injustice, and I was like, oh god, yes, please call it that, please.
All right. I don't understand what John just said, and you didn't even make my Weather Dominator joke.
Look 4 comments above that.
Yeah, look above it.
Look, I don't have time to read every comment that comes up.
I haven't looked at any of them. They're all John.
No,
Movement's in there quite a bit.
Not quite, but close.
It's like John wrote a novel.
I don't see a Weather Dominator joke.
Yeah, I don't see what he's talking about. I've been reading
75 pages up.
Sorry, John. Okay. All right, John. Okay. All right. That'll do it for this episode. Jen, thank you very much for being here tonight.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Dave, let everybody know where they can find you.
DCOnscreen.com. We're on Apple. We're on Spotify. We're on all the places. So we cover the multiverse of film and television, DC properties. So it's DC TV, movies, HBO Max, the whole shebang.
All right. Scott, thanks for joining us.
Well, I thank you for having me, as always.
And you want to plug your stuff?
You can find me on this show. You can find me on That Star Trek podcast. I have my Prime Direction finale is in the works, and that'll be coming out before too long. And
my workload goes up.
Well, that's on you, buddy. And aside from podcasting, I also have my graphic art side business. If anyone's interested, you can visit me on Twitter at PlanetRise or visit my website, www.planetrisecreative.com.
All right. And Rick.
I'm on the internet. Just look.
Should we look for Towel?
That's Superman's beach bum brother.
Towel.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody, make sure you join our discussion group on Facebook. You can follow us on Twitter and Instagram. Next time, we absolutely will be talking about Oz. We're going to talk about the Wizard of Oz and all the different versions of Oz that showed up in movies and television. And you can join us on That Star Trek podcast as we continue to talk about the episodes and the films that involve time travel. We have an episode coming out this week where Scott, Tom, and I talk about Yesteryear from the animated series. So you'll find all of that and all of our other podcasts over at infinitepotato.com. Thanks for listening. Be sure to join us again next time on That Super Fan Talk podcast when you might hear Scott say.
So I went to my usual salon the other day, and my stylist asked me what I wanted. I said, give me a Snyder cut. It took me 4 days, but I came out with computer-generated hair that only looks right when I turn my head in slow motion. She offered to make it gray, but I said no. Still, it's better than when I asked for a Whedon style, and she just put 2 dried-up shrimp tails in my hair and told me there were cinnamon sugar clumps.
I know what you're talking about there.
There you go. There.
I understand that reference.
I'm away from the cinnamon toast crunch.
Yeah, I'm hoping that everyone has the Captain America "I understood that reference" gif,
and
in response to that.
After credit bonus scene, John sent us his you might hear John say, it occurs to me that a lot of people wouldn't need to be rebuked if they had been buked properly in the first place.
If you want to do another after credit bonus scene, I can just read off all the notes that I didn't mention.